Hi guys, I am currently at a hotel in Colorado on tour for varsity. I'm very sorry that I can't be with you guys, and I'm really sorry that I can't interact with you and get you to ask questions or ask you questions because I'm really interested in what you guys have to say about a lot of this. But you're just gonna have to listen to me talking. So, I'm guessing that a lot of you are probably pretty worried about classroom management because most people are who are going to be teachers, because that's scary. Like, it's a huge deal, and every time I think about being in a classroom, I'm always worried about, if I'm going to be able to keep kids in check or not, because I've been in a lot of classrooms where, you know, kids just can't get under control no matter like what the teacher is doing. And I've always felt for the teacher, but it's I'm starting to realize how much a lot of that has to do with the teacher themselves. And one quote that I want to bring to your attention was in the intro, and it was part of that little section of the like meeting notes that they have in every chapter, And one of them said, engaged students don't have to be controlled. So I just really like that idea. Like, if you can keep your students interested in a topic. Now, sometimes if a kid's really interested, they might go overboard and talk about it and get kind of in the way of the discussion, maybe. But in general, if a student is genuinely engaged in what you're saying and what you're teaching about, and usually what they're doing, in an assignment or something, then you're not gonna have to like deal with any outbursts or anything like that. But it's really hard to keep students engaged sometimes, and that's a whole different thing. And this whole chapter is more about, what happens after they have not been engaged and are, not being managed. One thing I wanted to mention was the routines. In the little video that we had to do the journal on, it asked us to question about some routines that the teacher was doing. One of them was just that they were like sitting on a carpet in the morning. They were just sitting on a rug and talking in a circle, She did breathing exercises. I think she just asked them some questions and stuff like that. And I think that the power of routines is actually probably really underrated, because it can kind of give students a sense of stability, and they can go into there and immediately, especially with things like breathing exercises, be just calm down, and asking them questions can get them focused on the topic, Another thing that the book said was that lower intrinsic motivation usually equals more controlling teachers. So if you don't love what you're doing, if you're doing it just for money, a lot of times, you'll see teachers be a lot more angry. And not necessarily angry, but a lot more authoritarian. Yeah. And I think it surprised me a little bit, because I feel like I've dealt with a lot of authoritarian teachers in my time as a student. And maybe, sometimes I think that maybe I'm just a little distracted by, like, pop culture and movies and things like that, and maybe I've just seen too many videos of authoritarian teachers. But I just think that I feel like there's a lot of them, which is strange because it doesn't make sense to me that there's so many teachers that would just be doing this for the money. And obviously that's not like the only thing that's making them, more controlling, but it's just, I don't know, it just surprises me that there can be so many of teachers who still teach past the point where they don't really like their jobs. I mean, it makes sense when you need money, but if you're miserable. Another thing the book said, it had in one of the little note sections where you can, study off of or whatever, it said, teachers who continually interrupt classroom activities have discipline problems. It didn't say that they have students with discipline problems. It said that the teachers have discipline problems. And we've covered that before, where the students have discipline problems because they consistently interrupt the classroom. but we've never really talked about it, as in teachers are the ones who have discipline problems, which is a really interesting thing. I just like that through taking this course, because I, as a student wanting to be a teacher, always sided with the teachers as a kid. I was a bit of a teacher's pet. I wasn't like, yeah, whatever. But it was just like, I thought that the kids were what was the bad thing. I thought they were doing the wrong thing, and that was what was making the classroom not work when it didn't work. And through taking this course, a lot of these things in these chapters, especially things like this, are making me realize that the problem can often be the teacher. The fact that the teacher can have a discipline problem just like a student can. I wanted to talk about one of the influence techniques too. So just like one of those quick things that you can do to try to stop a behavior before it gets really bad. And one of the things was signals, which it said you could only use in like the beginning of a behavior. And I kind of thought that the idea of signals, so like just, clearing your throat at someone, just like, or like staring at them for a second so that they know they did something wrong and then continuing with what you're doing, I kind of thought that would be a bad thing, because it's like, you're not explaining to them what the problem is. What if they don't know? And then, like, I kind of realized that kids aren't dogs, so it's not like when you have to, I don't know, I don't want to say hit dogs because you shouldn't hit dogs, but like I grew up with parents who did such a thing, and like I was always like, they don't know why you're hitting them, they just know that you're hitting them, and now they're sad. Like, but students aren't, you shouldn't hit students. Students are dogs. They're not gonna wonder why you disciplined them right after they did the thing, So it's not gonna have this whole confusing thing. And one of the reasons that I thought these were bad, I don't know if any of you guys have seen that video. There's a TikTok video of a teacher who walks up to a student who is helping another student with her homework and just stares at her. She just stares at her and says nothing. And the student like stands up and is like, what? What do you want? I'm helping my friend. And like, she just stares at her and does nothing. And I never know, like, I think about it a lot because I don't know what was going through her head. Because I just want to say, that's not a good signal. Like, just staring continuously, quick stare, and then look back, whatever, I don't know. I just thought that was interesting. And the same thing that I said earlier about the discipline problems thing and how teachers can also have discipline problems. The book said that a student has talked about how a student with a lack of a positive identity, with a negative identity, can, be the one causing problems or something like that. But it also said that teachers can have a negative identity, which can cause problems, I just think it's really interesting that a teacher's insecurities and things like that can transfer very easily into the classroom. And it talked about it, I think, a little later, about how if you are not secure in who you are and the way that you're teaching and confident in what you're teaching and things like that, it will transfer. It will be noticeable, especially to children. Children are very perceptive of all ages. They will recognize immediately, like, your worst fears just by looking at you. I don't know. I didn't get to look at too many discussion posts or anything like that, and I really wanted to, but, I need to make this at a reasonable time so I can go do tour. But I did notice one, Kaden talked about what you could do about boys and girls picking on each other, and I just wanted to point out that there was a whole section in there about programs. Like if that turns into bullying, that's not necessarily always going to be a bullying situation, and I don't have a specific answer for you like that. I don't have any advice or anything. But if you see bullying, there are programs, that tend to decrease things like violence and stuff. And I think somebody else asked about cyberbullying, and I have a feeling that those programs could also do the same thing. I just thought maybe I could bring that to your attention. Maybe Ms. Hayhurst would want to talk about that. The last thing I just want you guys to see is a video. I sent it to Miss Hayhurst. It's just some strategies for classroom management. It's just a few. I thought they were interesting. They were somewhat similar to this. You know, I mean, it gives you like do's and don'ts, and I thought it's just a good way to look at things. So thank you guys for listening, and I hope the rest of the class is wonderful. Bye.